today pick Delta State Governor Ifeanyi Okowa as running mate. The vice presidential candidate of the party is now known. And preparations in top gear as politicians wrap up campaigns and distribution of materials is revved up by the umpire ahead of the Ekiti State Governorship election 2022. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimaloye live here at our makeshift studio in Ekiti, the Ekiti State capital, where we are monitoring and covering for you the Ekiti State Governorship election 2022. Welcome everyone and stay with the Channels Television for all you need to know as far as that election is concerned. But first and foremost, let's bring to you what a lot of people have been talking about. The trip of the candidate of the Labour Party, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, who has gone to Egypt on a tour to understudy how Egypt has been able to rev up its power and power generation from 2,000 megawatts to over 40,000 megawatts in 4 years. Mr. Peter Obi's media office has released a statement today saying that the reasons why the candidate is gone to Egypt is to understudy and understand how Egypt has been able to achieve this milestone in 4 years. Mr. Peter Obi, in a video release, is seen with some top executives and engineers of the new capital power plant in New Cairo in Egypt, the plant which currently generates about 4,800 megawatts of electricity. Well, so much to talk about. From Atiku Abubakar picking Ifeanyi Okowa, what led to this choice? We'll be hearing details. And how did the party arrive at this choice? Is this the best candidate for the party? Is this Atiku's choice? Was it the PDP's as a party? Is this their choice? How did they arrive at Ifeanyi Okowa as a running mate? But it's now known and established. Senator Ifeanyi Okowa is the PDP vice presidential candidate for the presidential election 2023. We'll bring you all the details that you need to know. Plus, I have one of the frontline governorship candidates in Ekiti State. Tomorrow, you will not hear any campaign. So, tonight is the last day for any partisan conversation. And so we'll bring you one of the frontline candidates right here on the program. Stay with me, everyone. But first and foremost, let's check out your top political stories in our political roundup.
The House of Representatives has mandated its Committee on Army to invite the Chief of Army Staff to provide details of the total number of personnel trained and recruited by the Nigerian Army in the past 5 years. The resolution was reached after the consideration of a motion by Honorable Sergius Ogun on the need to ascertain the current numerical strength of the Nigerian Army. Taraba State Governor Darius Ishaku is issuing a stern warning to judges in the state to guard against giving judgments to highest bidders, but rather be fair, just and firm in the dispensation of justice to all citizens. At an occasion at the Executive Chamber of the Government House to swear in 3 new judges of Sharia Court of Appeal, Customary Court of Appeal and State High Court, the governor insists that his administration has taken several deliberate steps to bring justice to the doorsteps of residents through prompt attention to the judiciary.
Your character, actions and performance will be closely scrutinized not only by the NJC but also by the general public who have high expectations of you.
Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has debunked reports of his exit from the People's Democratic Party. The governor was reacting to a viral video which suggests that he has dumped the party. According to a statement by his media aide, Kelvin Ibiri, Governor Wike clarified that the trending video was an excerpt from a television interview where he was reacting to the defection of the Ebonyi State Governor, Dave Umahi, in June last year. The Edo State Governor, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, has congratulated his Delta State counterpart, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, on his emergence as the running mate to the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the 2023 presidential election, Atiku Abubakar. Obaseki, in a statement, said Okowa's emergence will translate to victory for the party in the forthcoming elections. Former Deputy Chief of Staff to Governor Bello Matawale of Zamfara State, Bashir Mohammed Maru, and 4 others have been arraigned in the Chief Magistrate Court 1 in Gusau, the state capital. The 5 accused persons were arraigned on a 2-count charge bordering on criminal conspiracy and misappropriation of official Hilux vehicle issued to the former Deputy Chief of Staff.
Gave directives to the police to transfer the case file in respect of the allegations to the Ministry of Justice, that is Office of the Honorable Attorney General, and then the matter now will be, transferred to the High Court. In other words, we may file charges before the High Court.
Former Governor of Ogun State, Senator Ebikun Amusun, has returned to his base in Ogun State to a heroic welcome after the APC presidential primary, which saw him step down for Bola Tinubu. Senator Amusun said the declaration of support for the Southwest aspirant by the Northern governors of the All Progressives Congress prompted him to step down for the presidential candidate of the party. The former governor stated this today while addressing his supporters, drawn from all the local government areas of the state, who converged on the Alake Palace Pavilion in Abeokuta for a welcome rally.
Let's get to it, everyone. So it's now official. Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, a former senator representing Delta State in the National Assembly, who became a governor of Delta State, and is using up a second term as the governor of that state, has now been picked as a running mate to Atiku Abubakar, who is the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. This announcement was made earlier today at the Wadata House, the PDP's headquarters in Abuja. Several reasons have been given. The party had come out a few days ago to say there will be a screening process for whoever will emerge as the VP candidate of the PDP. After that process, today, the presidential candidate himself announced Senator Ifeanyi Okowa as the vice presidential candidate and the running mate in the 2023 presidential election. Take a listen to the party, the candidate, and the running mate on how they arrived at the choice of Ifeanyi Okowa.
Of running mate who will help to lead us to victory next year, not only in the presidential election, but also in the governorship and legislative elections. And he will be by my side as I work hard every day to provide our people with security, revive our economy, improve education, and unite our country. He has both legislative and executive experiences. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the ticket the next Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Governor Ifeanyi Arthur Okowa.
The great work that is ahead of us. But I know that God has designed this to be, and that by the special grace of God, we will work hard to ensure victory for the party. There is no doubt that there is a great work ahead of each and every one of us. The build-back process is going to be collective. And we are trusting that all our party members will want to be part of that story at the end of the day. The story, which will obviously be positive and will yield positive results, will require that each and every one of us must support our principle as we move forward in the next few months, and that we will, at the end, win the elections with a landslide victory.
Now that is known. Let's get a sense of what this means for the PDP and, in fact, for the state of the race as far as 2023 election is concerned. We have in our Abuja studio a former aviation minister and a member of the screening committee of the vice presidential ticket of the PDP. I have Mr. Osita Chidoka, who joins us live now. Thank you so much, Mr. Chidoka, for joining us. How does this come to your party first and foremost? Because I know the feeling must... there will be those who have expressed their feelings about the emergence of Senator Ifeanyi Okowa. And perhaps, first and foremost, how did you arrive at the choice of Ifeanyi Okowa? Knowing full well that there were 3 or 4 choices before the party, Inyosam Wike of River State, Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State, the former governor of Imo State and former deputy speaker of the House of Representatives, and the former SGF Pius Ayim. All these four were the top in the running for that role. How did you achieve, or how did you arrive as Senator Ifeanyi Okowa?
Well, first and foremost, just to clarify a point, I wasn't a member of the selection committee. So there was a committee set up by the candidate, Atiku Abubakar, who evaluated the choices before them and then presented it to him, and he made his final choice. So I wasn't a member of that committee. I'm a member of the screening committee, which is a statutory requirement that candidates will be presented for public office by political party, that we go, the PDP has a process that requires us to screen them and be sure that they meet the minimum constitutional requirements. Of course, he is already a governor, but we had to go through that process to confirm his documents, his certificates, and all that is required by law to make him qualified to be on that ticket. So that's what we did after the fact. So I wasn't a member, and I didn't know how they arrived at this decision.
Yeah, I know exactly that you are a member of the screening committee. You were not part of the selection process, but you might be privy to some information. But let's get it clear. How many people were presented before your committee for screening?
No, we only screened the vice presidential candidate. We only screened the person nominated by the presidential candidate. So we were not presented with options. It was just to screen him. It was after the announcement that we went into the screening.
Okay, it was after the announcement we saw at Wadata House before the screening
Yes.
now went on. So give us a sense of the feeling in the party, because there are a few people whose name came up. What are the thoughts of the generality of your members of the members of your party about the choice of Ifeanyi Okowa ahead of the likes of Nyesom Wike, Pius Ayim, and of course the former deputy speaker of the House, Emeka Ihediawa?
Well, I think that the choice of Ifeanyi Okowa, like I said, I wasn't part of the process that chose him, but I could see that there is wide acceptability amongst party people. Of course, there will be disappointment for those who didn't make the final cut, and many of us had, opinions about who should and who shouldn't. But what we have today is that Atiku Abubakar is going to run with Ifeanyi Okowa, and that's where we are. And I think that has generated some form of wide acceptability within the party. He's a governor of the PDP. He's particularly a party man. The famous Port Harcourt Convention that many people praised, he was the chairman of that convention. He was the chairman of the electoral panel, and I think of the convention committee that made that convention work very well. He's a stickler for details, and he has shown great interest in the work of the party over the years. So I think that his appointment was widely welcomed by members of the party.
Yourself, a very strong party man. You've helped the party in general elections, and you've also helped to midwife processes administratively as far as the PDP is concerned. Now, how does the choice of an Ifeanyi Okowa, a South man, a governor, because he belongs to all of these blocks, governor, as a member of the Governors Forum of your party, a former senator, and someone who is from the South region of the country, and your presidential candidate from the northeastern region of the country. Would you say that your party has made the choices, the choices now of Ifeanyi Okowa and Atiku Abubakar, that will guarantee you a win at the election?
Well, to start with, I think that I was particularly strong in my voice that the party should zone the office of the president. So 2 zones in the 2 regions, actually 3 zones, have not occupied the office of the president. That is the northeast, the north central, and the southeast. And I said, because the president currently is coming from the north, we should zone it to the south. So we zone to the south. The party jettisoned the idea of zoning for many reasons, and then we had an all-open game, and Atiku Abubakar won. Now, the choice of vice president from amongst the governors is a very strategic and choice, because the governors, the preponderance of PDP governors are second-term governors. In 2019, they were first-term governors, so they were not available to join a ticket. But now that the governors are on their second term, they're a very powerful bloc in any party. If you remember, in 1993, exactly 30 years ago, during the June 12th election, it was the SDP governors that insisted that Abiola must pick Babagana Kingibe as his running mate. And of course, that led us to the Muslim ticket that actually won the election, because the governors are a very powerful bloc. So as a very powerful bloc, the governors are there. Ifeanyi Okowa, interestingly, occupies two reigns. There are Igbos beyond the southeast, so he is an Igbo not in the southeast. Then he is in the south-south. So that kind of presents him in a very interesting milieu, that he is an Igbo in the south-south, and that makes a lot of difference. So I'm sure he gave him some notches in the contest for who becomes the vice president. But beyond the geopolitics of the ticket is the fact of what an Ifeanyi Okowa brings to the table. For me, in the last 7 years of my looking at the PDP governors, one of the interesting things I've seen is that Delta State used to be a hotbed of ethnic disagreements and rivalry. We're always hearing of the Robo Ishekiri problem, of the, the northern Delta and the riverine Delta. But in the 7 years of Okowa, Delta has remained largely peaceful. Interestingly for me, that he must have worked a template that has kept Delta State, very peaceful. And there is nothing we need in Nigeria today than bringing that skills to harmonizing our various ethnic groups and making Nigeria again a peaceful country, managing our diversity, which the APC government has damaged greatly in the 7 years that they've been in office. So I think that if we take Ifeanyi Okowa as a governor of Delta, managing a multi-ethnic state with all the challenges that Delta presents in Nigeria, and has kept it peaceful over the last 7 years, I think that something is going on there that we need to understudy. Because the promotion of peace is critical for nation building. If you cannot get all the forces at play to work together, then you cannot get any economic process, any economic growth to happen. Then you can't get any security system to work. So I think that the task before the government in 2023, and I believe it will be a PDP government, will be to heal the fault lines of Nigeria, to use our wide existence in the whole of the country to remind Nigerians that though tribes and tongues may differ, but that in brotherhood we stand. We need to build that again, rebuild the fault lines of the country. And that, for me, is significant that our presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, looked in the way of Governor Okowa, because he brings that skill set, he brings that capacity to negotiate, that capacity to get everybody involved to the ticket as a vice presidential candidate. And secondly, he brings also a very interesting area of experience, having worked as a local government chairman, a commissioner in Delta State. He has worked as secretary to government in Delta, a senator in the National Assembly, and now a governor in a state. He comes with very, very intimidating resume of experience from the lowest level of government to now going to the highest levels of government. So I think that for local government people in Nigeria, those who think that the local government hasn't done well, here is somebody who is coming from that level who will speak for them. For those the National Assembly, which is the hotbed, which is the place where we negotiate all our budgets, all our agreements, constitutional issues and on non-constitutional issues, that presents us another opportunity, that we have a vice president who has a National Assembly experience. And then we have a vice president who has an executive experience as a governor of a state, who has managed people, managed resources, and is capable of bringing that experience to bear on his job as vice president. And lastly, for me, is also his resume as a person. I mean, this is a Division 1 student in the days of school sat in the 1970s when he's graded to Division 1, Division 2, meaning that he's an all-A student. And he became a medical doctor at the young age of 22. There is something to say about us bringing people that have very interesting academic backgrounds, because the promotion of ignorance, the promotion of what I call normalization of bad behavior in Nigeria is such that we must show young people that paying the price, going to school, making good grades in school can also lead you on a path of a political life and lead you to the top of that political, on the echelon of politics. And I think that that is the three ways I view his candidacy, his joining that ticket beyond even the geopolitics of it. I think that this is a good ticket for the PDP.
Let me take you to the geopolitics, and I'll take you to a very hotbed of the political debate in Nigeria presently, which is the zone where you come from, the southeast region of the country, where a lot of, I've had this commentary about the choice of Ifeanyi Okowa, which some of your friends in the Southeast have said the PDP has obviously ignored the clamor from the Southeast region, and they've taken for granted that the PDP has always held sway in the Southeast and always won presidential election in the Southeast. And some of them have said that the PDP will pay dearly for these neglect of the Southeast region of the country. What kind of danger do you think this portends for your party?
Well, it's potentially a problem because, like you said, PDP, the Southeast has been a very strong supporter of the PDP. The Southeast have always cast its lot behind the PDP. At this time, I think that what we should focus on now is the fact that what happened in 2022 is a pointer to everybody. By becoming vice president, it is not a straightforward shot to becoming a president. So we saw Vice President Osibanjo come third in the primaries of APC. Vice President Atiku Abubakar didn't succeed Obasanjo in 2007. So it is not a pathway. So what I think the South is going to be doing, what we'll be doing is to recalibrate our politics, recalibrate our presence in the PDP, and continue our strong push for a president from the Southeast. And at this time, I think that we will gain further mileage because by default, the country giving the presidency to the Northeast means that we are following some sort of zoning. The Northwest had gone, the Southwest had gone, the Northeast has now gone. So when it's coming down to the South, it will be to the Southeast. So I think we have 4 to 8 years between us and the presidency. We need a strong candidate. We need to continue building on what we have gained already. We need to build ourselves up to be able to present that candidate that will tell the country it is our turn. And that our turn will be fought on the grounds of Eagle Square, on the grounds of wherever the primaries is. We hope that that candidate will be strong enough to elicit votes from across the country because Southeast votes are not going to make us president. No matter how many Southeast votes we garner for ourselves, we need to convince the rest of the country to support our aspirations. So I think that what we need to do, what we are doing now in this election is that we're going to be making that point that it is, we've lost this, but it is not game over for us. The Southeast will reorganize themselves. And as you saw in the APC primaries, whether people wanted him or not, you saw how the Northern governors came out for the Governor Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So I'm looking forward to our candidates in 2000 and whenever the next presidential election is, next 4 to 8 years, and that candidate will be strong enough to elicit what I will call pan-Nigerian support within a national party and be able to win that election in 2000, whenever it happens. So my point is that the geopolitics now is not favoring the Southeast because our politics, for some reason, we didn't get it right here now. And for some reason, we are looking forward to say that this is not the time for us to sulk. This is not the time. We will show we are not happy. We have shown that, and we'll continue to show that. But we are going to re-engage, and this time we are re-engaging to win, and we will win that election.
All right, let's do some quick political mathematics here. And I know that you're very good at that, those kind of readings. So let's do a quick one. Now, if you talk about election in Nigerian politics, it's a game of numbers. And it comes down to election. You want to win election, you have to consider the numbers. So first and foremost, let's look at the biggest zones in the country. You talk about the Northwest region, which has the largest voting population, followed by the Southwest region of the country. Now, you talk about the lowest region by voting population. You talk about the South-South region of the Southeastern region of the country. Now, and the South-South also does not have as much votes compared to the likes of the North Central and the rest. So let's do a quick mathematics. In the top 4 or top 3 of the states with the largest voting population, these states are spread between the Northwest and the Southwest. Now, your candidate, the PDP candidate, is from the Northeastern region, which has the third largest voting population in the 6 geopolitical zones. Your candidate, the vice presidential candidate, comes from the South side, which has about the 5th or the 4th largest voting population. Now, you look at Kwankwaso from NNPP, is of the Northwest, from the region with the largest voting population. The APC presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu, comes from the zone with the 2nd largest voting population in the country. Kola Abiola of the PRP comes from the Southwest. So you go on and you look at all this permutation. Your party has gone to the Northeast and the South-South. In terms of numbers, your candidates, the 2 of them, the pairing, have not come from a very strong population in terms of the voting ratings in the country. How do you hope that this can play out in the end, and considering the fact that Kwankwaso is in the race, Peter Obi is in the race, the areas where your party would have made some inroads, these candidates will definitely make their own inroads and somewhat balkanize votes for your party where you have had your traditional PDP states.
Okay, I don't know how much I want to share our winning strategy with you, but I can tell you what this will be. So if you look at the 1979 election where you had 4 parties, actually 5, running that election. So you had the MPN, you had the UPN, you had the MPP, you had the PRP, and you had the GMPP running the election. And the 3 big boys in the election were Awolowo, Zeke, and to some extent Aminu Kanu and Waziri Ibrahim. But how the election ended was that the candidate with the most acceptability, the party with the most platform that cuts across the nation, won elections from parts of the Northwest, won election in the middle belt of Benue then, Zeke won in Plateau, and then went to Cross River and Rivers to win that election. So meaning that building a pan-Nigerian coalition in a multi-party election is likely going to happen with the party with the best infrastructure on ground across the country. So don't forget that the states in the Northwest that had not been voting PDP were not voting PDP since the advent of President Buhari. Now President Buhari is not on the ballot, so the votes are up in the air because they are not likely to transfer the votes of Buhari to Kwankwaso, and it may not automatically transfer to anybody. So it's up for campaigning. It's up for people to go for. So the point I'm making is that we have our winning strategy. We've thought it through. We know where the votes will come from. We know where to look for those votes. But the most significant thing that happens is that if the candidates of all the other parties, the smaller parties, continue with their momentum toward the election, then we're going to have that 79 scenario, where the party with the best movement across the country, with the party that picks up votes across the country, wins. In 1979, many people do not remember that Shagari did not make 1/3 of the votes in 2/3 of the states, because the 13th state where he could have made 1/3 that was in contention at the Supreme Court was Kano State. So many people are still thinking that Shagari won across the north. No, he couldn't make 25% of the votes in Kano, and yet he made it to becoming president. He had more votes than Chief Awolowo, who garnered all the votes in the southwest, than Nnamdi Azikiwe, who garnered all the southeast votes, Anambra and Imo and Plateau. So the strategy of this election will be more of creating a pan-Nigerian momentum that cuts across and links up with PDP's base to win the election. Okay. And I believe that the months of campaign will show the strategy of all the parties.
We see how that plays out. I enjoy political mathematics. Politics in every sense is science. And everyone that has won election has never won election in history without considering these science. So we see how that pans out. But I must sincerely thank you, former Minister of Aviation, Mr. Osita Chidoka. Thank you so much indeed for coming tonight.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Shem.
Now, we turn our attention to Ekiti State governorship election, where today, as we see it, all political campaigns will end at midnight. But tonight, we focus our attention on one of the frontline governorship candidates in the race who is able to make it to a studio. We spoke with several of them, but they said they were on the road. But the one who is able to make it will be speaking to the Ekiti people tonight. Stay with us. We'll be focusing on Ekiti governorship election next. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right here on Politics Today on Channels Television. We're live for you from Ekiti, where we're covering the Ekiti State governorship election. Well, we saw earlier today the distribution of materials from the INEC office and the state office in Ekiti. We saw the movement of the materials being monitored by observers, security agents, and of course, INEC officials to the different local government areas, 16 of them in Ekiti State. And the political parties are also on the ground to monitor that. But let us let you know that today is the final day of campaign as far as this governorship election is concerned. One of the political parties that held its rally is the Social-Democratic Party, which held its final rally at the pavilion here in Ekiti, which we saw a lot of their members in their colors, Mount Rostrum, and speaking about the agenda of the SDP and Engineer Shegwoni. And of course, on a day like this, we know it's always very busy, speaking with a lot of the governorship candidates whom are not able to make it to the studio, but we're lucky to have Engineer Shegwoni, the governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party in the Ekiti State governorship election. He joins us live here in our Ekiti studio. Thank you so much, Engineer Shegwoni, for joining us tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Are you ready?
Of course, yes. We've done what we should do, so we are waiting for the people's verdict. We are ready.
I thought you said you were leaving it to God, but you're leaving it to the hands of the people.
Yeah, it's in the hands of the people, and it's also in the hands of God. But I believe we've got into...
In this part of the world, we always leave a lot of things to God. While neglecting our own jobs, that's just an aside. God has a lot of role to play. I mean, the spiritual has a lot of role to play in how humans behave. But of course, the humans also have their own role to play. You play your role, God plays his role. But how much of destiny or God that you see in your life? A former governor, do you think destiny is going to play back and give you another chance at governing this state?
I would say that the record of service that I gave to the people of Ekiti stands for me. I've been gone for nearly 12 years now, and it's not very common that a man who's gone for 12 years, within which there have been 3 governments, by 2 individuals, will still be in contention. And I'm very grateful to God for that. And it's a testimony of the service that I gave to the people, for which I'm very proud. And the people themselves are saying it, and at times it's like frenzy. After the rally, I went to town in a motorcade, and you see people coming out of the house, their houses, and what they say, the way they say them, and so on, makes me very emotional. And I'm very grateful to God. All I can do is pray that I would never disappoint those guys, because it will be a worse disaster if I'm not able to live to their expectations.
You want to prove a point? If you get the mandate of the people this time around.
I'm going to live to their expectation. I gave them very, very good service. Still the best, that's what they say. So what I should give them should not just be the best, but it should be better than the best. That is, better than my previous performance.
Why do you so much long? This is not the first time you want to return to the government house. Why? What is it in the governorship of Ekiti State? A state that doesn't rank as much in terms of federal allocation. Your IGR is not as much. So a lot of people will wonder. It takes a lot of pain to be able to govern a state with not so much resources. So in that sense, there must be something that you want to go back to the government house to pick.
No, nothing. Let me say this very clearly. The urge to do things right, the urge to solve problems and create the kind of society that we would like to see is what brought me in the first instance. And by the way, I have made only one previous attempt, and it ended at the primaries level.
Yes, that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
You lost at the primaries during Kayode Fayemi's return to.
So this is my second attempt after. And you see, if you see a potential for a turnaround, and you see that that potential is not being realized, if you have a love for the people, you will be upset and you will feel the need to do it so that other people will know it's possible.
What upsets you the most in all of this? I mean, since you said that some of this potential, if it's not realized, is upsetting. So what upsets you the most?
For example, I put in a set of programs that young people would have been the most beneficiaries. We had a digital project that would have created our own Zuckerbergs of the future. I gave every SS1 child in boarding school a personal laptop. We made all boarding schools a visa environment, so you won't have to go and buy data. You are not constrained. So do just what you like with your laptop. We're not asking you to study history with it or study mathematics with it. Just do whatever. Play with it. 24/7 you have a laptop. What I was trying to arrive at is give a child this access at that point in time. Let the friendship be on the child's terms. And somehow, he may get up to something. Facebook did not start by the rhetorics of a Harvard or MIT. It came from interactions between a man and his computer. And from there, they moved it up. I was dreaming that by now, more than 10 years after, we could have gotten at least one or two breakthroughs. We lost them. Of course, Nigeria has created at least one or two apps now that are really living up to expectations.
So in essence, education is one of those things that makes you, the manner in which education is being administered makes you get upset. Now, it upsets you. Now, the question I would like to bring out of that is Ekiti State is a land of knowledge. There's so a lot of, fountain of knowledge. It's appellation. People often say that every household in Ekiti State has a professor. And you can ask, always also say that some of the most fantastic lawyers in this country are from Ekiti State.
Yeah.
The Olane Pekuns, the Afe Babalolas, the Femi Falanas, they're from here. Now, if you look at the education ranking of Ekiti State, it slipped from 1st to the 11th. There is a decline. In fact, if I may put out the index, which says that Ekiti State Education Index declined from 0.94 to 0.84. And you mentioned the issue of education. Do you have anything to do differently as far as education is concerned?
We're going to do a lot of things differently. A lot of things differently. When I came the other time, we're not even looking at just the normal school work. Laptop is not normal school work. We're just creating an environment where we're trying to stimulate pupils to get the best. We created scholarships. For example, you can win a scholarship even at secondary school levels to do senior secondary in a boarding school free of charge. And from that you go on. We're challenging the pupils, even from there, that you could be world beaters. We also put sports at their disposal because it will be naive of us to think that you can only make optimal contributions via normal classroom learning. I brought Chiboni Bide to come and manage.
Super Eagles,
yes,
coach.
to come and manage my talent development program for soccer. In fact, he said when I first invited him for a discussion, he thought I wanted to say, "Can you coach a team for us?" And I said, "No. As far as I'm concerned, my idea of investing in sports is not for me to win the National League here or a Challenge Cup. No. Or go to National Sports Festival. I'm not trying to run it down and win a couple of gold medals. No. I'm looking for people who will be potential world beaters."
So, Governor, from your own point of view, because there is a slip, Ekiti State fell from 1 to 11. In 4 years, what can you do to change that scenario should you become governor? How high can you take the index?
If it was once 1, it means in 4 years we can really take it back to 1. If it was once 1, I don't know what the parameters are they're looking at, but once I study it, I will know how to get back to 1.
So you know you have what it takes to get
of course we can get back to 1.
In terms of IGR, let me take you away from education. In terms of the IGR of the state, what is your projection? How much of IGR, internally generated revenue, can you come by?
First, we are going to bring in some investment lines that are going to, in itself, create a lift for IGR. In my first year, the other time, I improved IGR by 131%. 131%.
So you can repeat that.
We can do it. We can do that.
I mean, because people will immediately remember what you did in agriculture, and they will remember those cows you brought in that never materialized, they never come to nothing. I mean, practically, those your critics will say that was a futile effort.
Well,
and that was one of your major disadvantage.
No, it was futile because my successors made it futile. I left cows there. You should have asked them. And one of these days, when you have Coyote on the spot, you should ask him, what happened to those cows?
Did you put a proper system in place to make those work? Because it's not only in your state. States in like Kwara State, there are Shungai farmers who came from Zimbabwe. And not only in Kwara State, there are a few states in Nigeria that have experimented it. It's worked in some states. But the state government will tell you that, in fact, they have a partnership with Promasidor, and so agriculture is working. And milk is being gotten out of Ekiti State. How come your own cows never...
No, the cows have just come. We were trying to complete the lease because I wanted to lease the whole thing to an investor. We were trying to cross the T's and dot the I's. So it's not a matter of not succeeding. We were succeeding. We were at the verge of...
Would you bring that cow initiative again back?
If Promasidor is working, why will I change it? I won't change it. I will encourage them.
You will continue with what Cow the Fireman is doing. Should you win?
That's where I'm different. You see, I don't have a complex to believe that it will take a while out of me if I say I'm endorsing what any predecessor does.
I mean, there are two major political parties in Nigeria. SDP is seen as a third or fourth, as the case may be. In fact, some people will rate ABGA as a third, first, in terms of political party rating in Nigeria. APC being the ruling party, the PDP being a major opposition. PDP has about 15 governors. The APC has about 22 governors. Your party does not have any governor, sitting governor as we speak. Does that count as a disadvantage for you in terms of your party structure, your party system, especially in Ekiti State?
It does not. You see, this is about people. What is structure? Structure is people. You will not believe what people are saying to us now, how people are jumping at us, despite the fact that we don't have a single governor. But we are going to create the change that Nigeria wants to see. I'm so excited at the opportunities that I can see. And I believe it is going to be a very beautiful conquest once we get there.
I mean, for those who see that this is a race that may not be concluded on the first ballot, I mean, this is a first time in a long time that a third party, there will be a third strong party. And a lot of people have analyzed that the SDP comes as a strong party because a Sheguni is on the ballot, on the bill of the SDP. Do you think that this election might not conclude on the first ballot?
On the other hand, I will say that it will be done on first ballot, and it's going to be a massive win.
For the APC or PDP? Or for the
SDP.
You are confident you'll win this election?
Oh, I'm going to win first ballot, and it's going to be a
out of the 16 local government, how many do you think you can bring for the SDP?
My projection is 14.
Out of the 16?
Yeah.
You obviously have your strong areas and you have your weak areas. I mean, there are states, local government areas you may not be as strong. And which are these local government areas?
No, I will not say that. before elections. No, that would discourage my people there. This also is a game of psychology. They will say, Oga has marked us down, but our projection is 14, is to win 14. We are going to have a massive win. The people are here. Their expectations are here. Their confidence is with us because they are expecting the change that will make.
Have you experienced any muscling by the stronger political parties?
Well, we've experienced muzzling, but not on a scale that will scare us. The party in power tries to throw its weight around, but I must say that we are coping very well. 2 days ago, 11 p.m. or thereabout, some security people in overall went to the house of one of our people. They knocked off the doors, every door.
Your presidential candidate that was coming to the election, I saw somewhere who he was complaining that military men stopped him and they didn't allow him.
They didn't want to let him in. Yeah.
But I mean, do you see this playing out? If your members are complaining of muzzling, do you see this playing out at the election?
I believe that the security agencies would not go out of their way to muzzle people. Election is a street affair.
They call it a festival of democracy. Yeah. That's what they call election. And hopefully that's what we think it will be.
Yeah.
But I mean,
and we hope it will be.
My final question to you tonight is whether or not you can look the people of Ekiti State in the eye and say, look, this election is not about violence. It's not a do or die. Should you lose this election, Engineer Shegoni, would you congratulate the winner?
Fairly, if it's a fair process, I will. You see, let me tell you, there's nothing that I want personally in life that I have not had. I'm being driven now by my love for the people. The fact that I believe the ideas that I have can turn around the situation for my people. And that is why I'm doing all this. And if somebody can beat me fairly and squarely in this election, of course I'll congratulate the person.
So you look so confident. I mean, you've traversed APC, PDP, and now you're at the SDP. It looks like you know the game of your friends and how they played.
I believe that this is an election for us to win, not by way of tactics and so on. No, by the force of the people. And that's why we are going to be very, very difficult to handle. Right. Because while others are trying to see what they can do with security, see what they can do with vote buying and so on, we are head on with the people, and the people are embracing us, and that is the biggest factor in this equation.
Engineer Shegoni, we must leave it at that. And well, wish you the very best in this election.
Thank you,
and we say, may the best man win. Thank you so much for coming. Engineer Shegoni, the SDP governorship candidate in the Ekiti Governorship election. And that's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. Don't forget, Channel Television is on the ground, and there's something coming up. Don't forget, on election day, stick with us because we're bringing something heavy from the bag. What could that be? I won't let the cat out of the bag. Just stay with Channel Television. I'm sure Akimale. Bye, everyone.